Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Kopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivadikacharya Ashtatra Shatashish Madhusvan Grace Asa Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So today is the appearance of two, I believe it's the appearance, or yeah, I don't think it's the disappearance. The appearance of Kasisvara Pandit and Bhugarbha Gosvami. So I'll just read a little bit about them. Short biographies about them. So first we'll read Sri Kasisvara Pandit. Sri Ishvara Puri sent his disciples Govinda and Kasisvara Pandit to Jagannath Puri to humbly serve Lord Chaitanya. Reluctant to accept service from his godbrothers, Sri Chaitanya finally agreed since it was his guru's wish. So yeah, there's Madhavendra Puri, which is a great personality within our line. And then there is Ishvara Puri. And Ishvara Puri is another great personality within our line. And then there's Lord Chaitanya. So Ishvara Puri was Lord Chaitanya's guru. And it says that Ishvara Puri, he served his guru Madhavendra Puri very humbly. And there's a whole pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Therefore he became so empowered, such an empowered devotee, that he was so empowered that Lord Chaitanya accepted him as a guru. So you can't be a you have to be a special guru to be Lord Chaitanya's guru. It's not going to be extra special. So yeah, Ishvara Puri, it says here that he sent his disciples to Puri, to Jagannath Puri, to serve Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Chaitanya, he was very reluctant because he didn't want to accept service from his godbrothers. He didn't want to accept any service. But it says here that Lord Chaitanya finally agreed, since it was his guru's wish. Named Kalavati and Sasika and Vrajlila, Govinda and Kasisvara bring Yamuna water to Lord Sri Krishna. Kasisvara Pandit, who was strong and powerfully built, used to walk before Lord Chaitanya, keeping the crowds from touching him. He was like the bodyguard. And after kirtans, he would serve prasadam to all the devotees. Sri Gaura Sundar asked Kasisvara, Lord Chaitanya asked Kasisvara to move to Vrindavan for worshipping Sri Rupa Goswami's deity of Govindaji. Fearing separation from Lord Chaitanya, Kasisvara said, "My Lord, if I must give up your association, my heart will split in two." Out of compassion for his devotee, Lord Chaitanya gave him a deity of himself that was so perfectly formed it exactly resembled the Lord. And the deity's name was Gaur Govinda. Gaur Govinda is a golden form of Krishna playing a flute. Then Kasisvara Pandit happily went to Vrindavan to serve Gaur Govinda and Govindaji. Sri Sadhana Deepika says, "I worship Sri Kasisvara Pandit, whose power of love and devotion brought Sri Chaitanya to Western India as a deity." Today, the original deities of Gaur Govinda and Govindaji are lovingly adored by thousands of devotees in Jaipur, Rajasthan. So apparently you could go see that deity, Gaur Govinda, that Lord Chaitanya gave to Kasisvara Pandit in Jaipur. So he said he was the bodyguard, practically. He keeps the crowds away. And there's an interesting pastime in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya, he goes and he's taking darshan of Lord Jagannath, and he specifically stands by the back, the Gruda Stamba. He wasn't getting close to Jagannath. And it says that he would cry so much that it'd make like a pool of tears, by the Gruda Stamba. So he was taking darshan of Jagannath, and all of a sudden this Bengali woman, what does she do? She climbs on Lord Chaitanya's shoulders. Can you imagine that? She climbs on Lord Chaitanya's shoulders. And he's a sannyasi. I mean, Lord Chaitanya was a strict sannyasi, like extremely strict, like the most strict sannyasi you could ever think of. It said that he had followers, women and men, but he was so strict, it said that the women would offer obeisances from a distance, because he was a renunciate and, he was setting an example. So, of course, nowadays, that may not fly so well. Maybe anyways. But the point is, he was really strict. So this Bengali Mataji, she climbed on his shoulders. What to speak of? He didn't even allow Matajis to get close. What to speak of climbing on his shoulders or anything like that? It's just like. So she climbed on his shoulders, and why did she climb on his shoulders? Because she wanted to see darshan of Lord Jagannath. She was probably a little shorter. There's tall people in front of her. I mean, Lord Chaitanya himself was tall. He was like 7 foot or something. So he climbed on his shoulders, and she was looking at Lord Jagannath. And then his servant, Govinda, Lord Chaitanya's servant, said, "Oh, you can't do that." In essence, I'm paraphrasing. This is what he said: "You can't do that. You have to get down and And then Lord Chaitanya chastised his servant. He said that, what she did was actually good. I approve what she did because she was so eager to see Lord Jagannath. And he says, I pray that one day I could be that eager as this Mataji. So, interesting. So, I'm thinking of that because it says that Kasisvara Pandit was the bodyguard. He keeps people away. But in this particular case, somehow or other, she was so enthusiastic, she just climbed the shoulder when was taking darshan Jagannath. So it's a little bit about Kasisvara Pandit, that's all that's written. And it says that his samadhi, where his body is entombed, right? Entombed. It is in Vrindavan. There's a place, 64 samadhis area, where there's great devotees. They bury the body. So before we go on, I'll just say it. Prayer. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshula Maditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kadivavachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitanam Vancha Kavadri Vishcha Kripasani Bevacha Patitanam Pavani Bhyo Vaishnavi Bhyo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in Vedic civilization, or you could say civilization based on the Vedas, the understanding is that you don't bury everybody's body, because you only bury the body of somebody who's like a spiritual master, someone who is a spiritual master, sannyasi, spiritual master, acharya. And the reason being is because, as Prabhupada said, he said in one lecture, he said, "Oh, in India they're not so foolish, to build these big cemeteries and take up so much land, bury all the bodies, and they put the tomb there and bury all the bodies." And in New York, for example, huge, miles probably just buried dead bodies. And the thing is that over time, I mean, even after a few years, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years, nobody goes there and visits that tomb. They don't know who it is. Like, you go to there's a Catholic place. Some of my family members were buried, their bodies were buried there. But actually, anyone who dies in SanDiego, who's my family member, they'll probably be buried there, but for some reason they like that place. But 1905, there's some tombs there. 1905. Oh, Susan Smith. 1905. Okay, but I mean, even somebody who's in her family lineage, they're not going to look up her and go visit Susan. They don't know who she is. They're not going to go there. And even if they did, okay, fine, give it another 50 years. No one's going to go there. So you have all these tombs there, the buried bodies. So Prabhupada said that, in India they're not so foolish, take up so much space, So he said that generally with people who aren't gurus or acharyas or persons like that, then the body's burned. And it's not that just because they're gurus, just because they're acharyas, it doesn't mean that they didn't go back to Godhead. You could go back to Godhead. Anybody could go back to Godhead. You don't have to be a guru, you don't have to be a acharya, you don't have to be, anybody could go back to Godhead. But even though they may have gone back to Godhead, still they burn the body. Because that's just the tradition. And then with the ashes, you throw it into the Yamuna, you throw it into the Ganga, like that. But because of these acharyas, because of their determination, their dedication, and their seriousness, and them being acharyas and gurus and their followers and all that, they bury the body because the body is considered to be spiritualized. So they bury the body, generally in Vrindavan or Mayapur, and then they create a nice shrine over it, where there's a picture of the personality, and people go there and offer respects, and just like I guess they do at cemeteries, but they're offering respects to spiritual personality, just like Srila Prabhupada's body is entombed in the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, the temple site in Vrindavan. Prabhupada's body is there. So it says here that Kasisvara's Pandit, his Kasisvara Pandit's body is in the 64 Samadhis area, so that's an area you could visit. And unlike when you go to cemeteries, I mean, it's kind of spooky and tamasic and things like that, ghosts and spirits and all this weird. It's not very pleasant, No one goes there. Oh, this is very pleasant. There's something weird about it, But if you go to all these samadhis, it's very uplifting, very inspiring. You feel good afterwards. You don't feel like you need to take a bath afterwards. So yeah, the 64 samadhis. So the next personality we'll read about Sri Bhugarbha Goswami. A disciple of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, Sri Bhugarbha Goswami shared an intimate friendship with Sri Lokanath Goswami. Inspired by Lord Chaitanya, they were the first and most senior devotees to settle in Vrindavan. Before the arrival of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana Goswamis, they tried to uncover the lost holy places of Radha Govindaji. Unlike the aggressive approach of modern scientists to discover the unknown, Bhugarbha and Lokanath Goswamis found Sri Krishna's pastime forest by the humble method of surrender. They simply wandered around Vrindavan calling out the names of her 12 forests, Bandiravan, Kamyavan, Mahavan, Talavan. And Srimati Vrindadevi, the maintainer of the forest and an expansion of Krishna's pastime potency, revealed the exact location of each and every forest. Yeah. So Bhugarbha Goswami, it says he's a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. So Gadadhar Pandit, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. So the Gadadhar Pandit is a member of the Panchatattva, and it says that he's actually Srimati Radharani internally. He represents Srimati Radharani. Or he is Srimati Radharani internally. So Bhugarbha Goswami, you could imagine what a personality he is or was, that he was initiated by Gadadhar Pandit. And when they went to Vrindavan, Bhugarbha Goswami and Lokanath Goswami, all the places of Krishna's pastimes were hidden. Means it was just a big forest. So now you could go and they'll say, this is where Krishna was, he jumped off the tree into the Yamuna. This is where Krishna danced with the gopis. This is where Krishna killed Keshi demon, the horse demon. This is where all these different things, right? Krishna bathed here, different things. This is where Lord Brahma, he offered prayers to Krishna. So they discovered all these places. And it said that they discovered it was revealed to them, the exact location of each and every forest. Which is quite interesting because a lot of the works of the 6 Goswamis, the books, for example, it talks about different pastimes of Krishna and Rupa Goswami. They read all these different books. So actually, all of these things, in many cases, they're actually revealed to them. And then they wrote it down. So it's an interesting way, actually. You could say in many ways we're accepting what they're saying on face value because they're great devotees, great personalities. So it's like if someone was to say, oh, well, I just wrote this book and Krishna revealed all these things to me. Like if I was to write a book or something. I mean, I would never do that, but I would never write a book and say that, oh, Krishna revealed this to me. These are the details of Krishna's pastimes. Right? People say, oh, yeah, he is crazy after all, We always thought he was crazy, but now we know he's crazy. But this is what they did. Things were revealed to them and they wrote it down. So we accept it because they're great devotees, pure devotees. It is told that to avoid material distractions, Bhugarbha would perform his bhajan underground. So he received the name Bhugarbha. Bhu means earth, Garbha means cave, womb, hidden place. So he dug a hole, a deep hole in the ground, and he would go down there and chant Hare Krishna. Which is quite interesting because, it was hundreds of years ago, and it was in Vrindavan. So it wasn't that disturbing, you could say. I mean, it wasn't disturbing at all. I mean, from one point of view, that the birds and there wasn't any cars or anything like that, and there wasn't, materialistic people around. But still, even though it was like that, he still dug a hole and chanted under there. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he did that in his house, similar thing, in Mayapur. It was a small room. So he went into this small room, and it was dark, and he would go in there and chant japa, So this teaches us that we should have like a sacred space where we go and chant and no one will bother us. So you turn off the phone. If you wear glasses, take off your glasses. Get your watch, take off your watch. Don't just completely neglect the world for that time, chanting Hare Krishna. So this is what Bhugarbha Goswami is teaching us, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is teaching us, to have a sacred space. Like devotees, some devotees, they have room in their house, which is very nice if it's possible. There's a room in their house where nothing goes on besides, there's deities there, they have books there, they go in there, they could chant, they could read, they could worship. It's not a room for them to, sleep or, talk to their family members in India or something. I don't know. It's just wholly and solely meant for worship. So it's important that devotees have that space. So any of you who are living outside in your own apartment or houses should create that space. And actually, I think most of you are, besides myself and Damodar. Everybody else isn't living in the temple, so you should have your sacred spaces. Follow in the footsteps of Bhugarbha Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All right, and it says that he is Prema Manjari or Bhadrarekika and Radha Gopinath's Nitya Nikunjalila. His samadhi stands near Sri Rupa Goswami's in the Radha Damodar temple courtyard. So when devotees do parikrama, you go to Radha Damodar and the temple in Vrindavan, and they do parikrama. They walk around, circumambulate the samadhis. So when you're walking around, you circumambulate Rupa Goswami's samadhi, and you circumambulate Bhugarbha Goswami's samadhi. It's also there. And many other ones too. So, and there's quite a stunning deity or murti of Rupa Goswami there. So it's like really big murti of Rupa Goswami, handsome, beautiful, and his eyes are. It's interesting how they made his eyes. They're like lightish blue. So they look very intense. So I was there in Vrindavan recently, and I was spending time by Rupa Goswami's samadhi, praying and chanting to him. It was nice. And this Rupa Goswami's samadhi, Prabhupada lived at Radha Damodar temple, where Bhugarbha Goswami's samadhi is. Prabhupada lived there, where Rupa Goswami's samadhi is also. Prabhupada lived there for many years, and he was writing the Bhagavatam. And it said that he'd have his room and just typing Bhagavatam. And he would take a little prasadam, and when he was taking prasadam, he would take prasadam and he would look out the window and he would see Rupa Goswami's samadhi. And he was praying to Rupa Goswami that please empower me to come to the West. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, my guru, instructed me to come to the West. Please help me, please empower me. And it said that devotees saw him at night sometimes, early in the morning. He was sweeping out by Rupa Goswami's samadhi, and he was crying. And he was praying to Rupa Goswami to please empower him to come to the West. And it's even said that Rupa Goswami appeared to him there. And devotees asked him about that, like his disciples. And they said, "Oh, Prabhupada, they said that Rupa Goswami appeared to you, and there's some..." And then Prabhupada said, "Oh," well," he said something like, "Oh, well, everybody knows that." So yeah, Rupa Goswami appeared to him and then blessed him. So Okay, so I could read the... Also, when Prabhupada was leaving India, he went to he went to Shantipur in Mayapur. He visited there before he came to America. And in Shantipur, he would go there as a householder many years before. And he'd always be very quiet, and he was chanting japa in the back. And then one day, many years later, because the pujari stayed there for many years, so many years later, he saw Abhay Charan, that was Prabhupada's name before he accepted sannyas. He saw Prabhupada as a sannyasi. So Prabhupada came, and he had his danda, and he was dressed in saffron cloth, and his tilak and everything, and he changed into a sannyasi. And he said that and this pujari said that Prabhupada was in the back, chanting and crying and praying to the deities and praying to his spiritual master that please empower me to come to the West. And then this pujari, he came and greeted him, and he asked him, he said, I'm about to go to the West, and he said, please bless me. He told the pujari, please bless me, I'm going to the West. So. And then, and then he went, and it was successful. So Prabhupada's, prayer and determination, very powerful. All right, so there's no verse on the board. There's no board there. So I'll just chant the verse, and then I could read the verse and purport. So this is Canto 4, Chapter 20, Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena. Text 20. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tastana bimuk Pyenam anugraha vilambita pashan padma pilashaksho napateste saritsatam. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Prasthana, to leave. Abhimukaha, ready. Api, although. Enam, him pritu. Anugraha, by kindness. Vilambitaha, detained. Pashyan, seen. Padma Palasha Akshaha, the Lord whose eyes are like the petals of a lotus flower. Na, not. Pataste, departed. Sarit, the well-wisher. Sitam, of the devotees. Translation. The Lord was just about to leave, but because he was so greatly inclined toward the behavior of King Prithu, he did not depart. Seeing the behavior of Maharaj Prithu with his lotus eyes, he was detained because he is always the well-wisher of his devotees. Purport. Here the words Sarit Satam are very significant. Sorry. Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always very inclined toward his devotee and is always thinking of the devotee's well-being. This is not partiality. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is equal to everyone, samaham sarvabhuteshu. But to one who particularly engages in his service, he is very much inclined. In another place, the Lord says that a devotee always exists in his heart, and he also exists always in the heart of the devotee. The special inclination of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pure devotee is not unnatural, nor is it partiality. For example, sometimes a father has several children, but he has special affection for one child who is very much inclined toward him. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 10. Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Those who constantly engage in the devotional service of the Lord in love and affection are directly in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sitting as the Supersoul in everyone's heart. The Lord is not far away from the devotee. He is always in everyone's heart, but only the devotee can realize the Lord's presence, and thus he is directly connected. And he takes instruction from the Lord at every moment. Therefore, there is no chance of a devotee's being in error, nor is there any partiality on the part of the Lord for his pure devotees. So Prabhupada brings the point here up that a father may have many children, but if one child is specifically inclined towards the father, but he has special affection for one child who is very much inclined toward him. And Prabhupada also say that if there's many children and there's one child who's like a young child and they're more dependent on the father and the mother, then the father and the mother, or the father, will look after them more closely because the child is asking for it. The child is wanting that. So similarly, we are all children of Krishna, you could say, and Krishna will look after us if we want him to. And actually, even if we don't want him to, he still does. But specifically, we will feel that he's looking after us, and we will realize that he's looking after us if we want him to look after us. And if we don't want him to look after us, then yeah, we'll just feel that he's not. And we could feel that to such a large degree that we actually don't even, like some people, they don't even think he exists. They don't even think God exists. So yeah, we want to be close to Krishna. We don't want to be far away from Krishna. And in order to be close to Krishna, we have to learn how to become dependent on Krishna. That means whatever help we need, whatever things we need, whatever problems we have, whatever, our whole life is just for Krishna. And then we'll feel very close to Krishna. And but interesting enough is that although we may be very close to Krishna in physical proximity, means, for example, there's many people in Pacific Beach. Some people live right across the street. Some people live right here. Vinod's tenants, they live right here. Also, these people who work here. This nice lady, she's a nice lady actually. She's from Cambodia. She cuts people's hair. Of course, we don't really need that so much. Maybe you need it, but no, I'm just joking. We don't need it like those who shave the head, you know. But anyways, if you ever want to get a haircut, get your head shaved and get a shika, you could go to this lady here, this Cambodian lady. She'll give you a nice haircut. But anyways, just joking. But she's there. She's a nice lady. I try to give her prasadam every once in a while, you know, burfis and all these things. And although I haven't done that for like, I don't know, 10 months now or something. But I did do it, you know, quite a few times, but I just haven't done it for a while. But she's living close to the temple. I mean, she's here every day. This guy, he's like working here. He's like an architect guy. He's here. And also, yeah, these people. But how close are they to Krishna? They're not close. They don't really know Krishna. They may not even want to know Krishna, and they're not close. Although they're in physical proximity, very close. They could come here every day if they wanted. They come take darshan, take prasad, associate with devotees. And also, there's people here next door. How close are they to Krishna? They're very close in physical proximity, but how close are they really? They're not close. Because in reality, most of them probably don't want anything to do with Krishna. Although they may like the devotees or respect them or something like that. But in all reality, in terms of pure devotion, they're not close. So, and then there's devotees, right? So there's us, devotees, or we're trying to be devotees. So we may not be in physical proximity close to the temple. Some of you live a distance. I think actually everybody here who doesn't live in the temple lives a distance, at least 15, 20 minutes distance. Some of you more, 30, 40 minutes. So, and then there's those of us who live in the temple. So, of course, those who don't live in the temple, who live a distance from the temple, they're not living in physical close proximity to Radha Giridhari, right? To the deities here, to Krishna, who's here now. And the devotees who live in the temple, we're living close to Krishna. Now, but just living in physical proximity doesn't necessarily mean that we're close. Just like those who live next door, or just like, they're living close, really close. But that doesn't mean they're close to Krishna. So, the devotees who live in the temple, I don't know if anybody's listening in the back, but at least there's two of us here, but the devotees who live in the temple, we're living close to Krishna, but we want to be in physical proximity close to Krishna, but we actually want to be close to Krishna also with our consciousness. We want to be Krishna conscious. And that's the whole purpose of the temple, to become Krishna conscious. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's not anything else, whatever, money consciousness or health consciousness or car consciousness or whatever. It's Krishna consciousness. So physical proximity may help living in the temple, living close to the temple. It may help. It should help. But sometimes it doesn't necessarily help. And sometimes people don't take advantage of it. So we should take advantage of it. And those who live a distance from the temple, they could still be close to Krishna. So my point is that physical proximity is not everything. They could still be close to Krishna. They could be more close to Krishna than those. Eager. Yeah, separation from Krishna. They could be more close to Krishna, even though not living close to the temple or living in the temple, as the neighbors prove. So the main point is the consciousness, to connect our consciousness to Krishna. And it says here that Krishna is very inclined towards the devotees, and he will help us. He's in the heart. It says that we could take instruction from him. Of course, whatever instruction we may think we get within our hearts coming from Krishna, we should confirm it with the external sources, the spiritual master, the devotees. We should confirm it. Is this really good? So it's not just Krishna in the heart or Guru in the heart. There's Guru outside as well. So yeah, Krishna and the devotees, they live they're inseparable. They cannot be separated. And even though they may be separated physically, like sometimes the devotees are separated from Krishna, it seems, apparently, but actually they're not. They're always connected. So we want to be like that sometimes due to circumstances, sometimes due to different challenges within life, we may be separated from Krishna. Like we have to go to We have to go to a family member's wedding or something. And they're all talking about politics and maybe gossip and, this and that, and they're not really directly, the wedding may have nothing to do with Krishna, actually. Or you may have to go to a family member's house, and they may not be so interested in Krishna, right? Or whatever the case is. You have to, in your business, you're working, you're going to school or something, you're dealing with so many people that they don't have anything to do with Krishna. They don't want anything to do with Krishna. So what are we supposed to do then? Or devotees also, they go out and pass out books, or go out on Harinam, and go out to chant publicly. So in some ways it seems that we're separated from Krishna because the activities, it may be difficult due to the circumstances to remember Krishna. But that's the whole point. Even though whatever's going on, to remember Krishna. That's the whole point. So we have to train our mind how to do that. So no matter what, no matter where we are, no matter who we're talking to, no matter what we see, no matter what we hear, everything reminds us of Krishna. And the only way we're really able to do that is if we develop that particular love for Krishna. Just like Prabhupada gives the example that a mother, he uses the example of, I think he uses, I'll use the example of a mother. Maybe Prabhupada uses a father and a mother, but we'll say a mother. So a mother, she sees her son's shoe, little, when the son's small, or the daughter, right? Daughter or son. So they see their child's shoe, and they don't think, oh, this is just a shoe, but they think, oh, this is my son's shoe, or this is my daughter's shoe. And then they think about the daughter or the son. And sometimes they even keep their children's things for many years, their childhood. Like my mother, it's something called a baby book. I think it's called a baby book, right? Baby book? I have a baby book. My mother has a baby book. I don't know if she still has it, but I think she does. So, knowing her, she probably does, but she didn't throw it away. But it's a baby book. So the first few years of your life, there's picture there, there's a picture of them climbing a tree. There's a picture of this, that, so many things. And there's like a picture of my first time my hair was cut. So she still has that, all this sacred, Anyways, but the point is, for anybody else, it doesn't really mean much. It's just some kid's hair, But for her, it means a lot. Why? Because she loves me. Or at least she has some affection. She has some affection for me. She's my mother. So similarly, that's what Prabhupada says, that whatever we see, like he says that devotee doesn't just see a tree, he says, oh, this is coming from Krishna. This is Krishna's energy. And he sees that with everything. So the devotee sees Krishna everywhere. Means directly or indirectly, they see Krishna everywhere. Why? Because they love Krishna. And then they can't remember. And they can't forget him. So that's the idea, to come to that stage. Priti, which means love. Priti. So, does anybody have any questions or comments? Ashley made it here, right? Ashley, hello. Hello. Don't mean to call you out. Don't mean to call you out or something, but I guess I just did, so. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I'm studying a book right now. This is called the Srimadbhagavatam, or the Bhagavat Purana, and it's a book of 18,000 verses. That's a lot of verses. The Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses, right? 700. Or is it 800? I think it's 700. So this is 18,000 verses. So we, read a verse or two a day. So it will take us many years to complete it. Mm-hmm. If you read 1 hour a day, you'll finish, and you're a fast reader, you'll finish the book in a year. So, and then you'll have to read it again. You want to know why? Because you'll forget everything that you read. I'm just joking. Okay.
Hare Krishna. You were saying, maybe, I'm not sure if I understood correctly, so just,
all right.
You let me know. So
well,
you
good
said,
you're asking me, because
right.
I'm the one who said it. So.
Yeah, well, I wanted to confirm it. So if one reads a book and one says that Krishna has revealed this to me, what do you exactly mean? Like you were kind of saying, repeating Krishna's words and making that his words are your words? Or
I was saying that there are certain devotees in history that had extreme levels of Krishna consciousness, and that actually the idea is that Krishna actually revealed things to them, certain, you could say, details of Krishna's, just details like of Krishna's pastimes or Krishna's activities. So they wrote that down. So what I'm saying is that that's quite a big claim, you know. Like I'm saying that I can't claim to do that, and actually I don't think anybody can at this stage in time. This was like historical personalities who had the power to do that. So when we read books and Krishna's words, we might be going to certain situations, and then by reading those, you say, "Oh well, Krishna is revealing this to me." It means giving us answers. So, but also like there's this doubt. Am I really getting a revelation or not? So my question is, how does one really know? When Krishna is really revealing something to us, and how can we confirm it? You mentioned that by asking others. Yeah.
But one can be confused. The confusion can be there. So how can we really know?
Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Devotion, he says that, the Nectar of Instruction, he says that in life there's more experienced persons and there's less experienced persons. That's just how life is. I don't know if you noticed that, but for example, in whatever field you're working in, if you're in the medical field, there's doctors who are just more experienced. More years, more operations they did. How long has your father been in the field? 30 years? Yeah, 25 years. So you could say for a lot of people, especially new doctors, because he's a doctor, right? Yes, for new doctors, he's a senior man, he's an experienced person. They go to him, they work under him, there's this idea, right, apprenticeship. Yeah. So, and then there's those new doctors, right? And then there's people who are still studying, right? And then there's people who are still teenagers and going to study. And then there's people who are in their diapers, right? Who will eventually become doctors. So there's obviously persons who are less experienced, like especially the ones in their diapers, right? The babies. And then teenagers, so the little, and then the people who are less experienced, and there's people who are more experienced. So whether it's the medical field or if it's the field of this field, that field, soccer, the soccer field, whatever field. So similarly within Krishna consciousness, there's persons who are more experienced than us, and there's persons who are less experienced. So we want to, if we have some doubts, if we have some confusion, which usually happens, speaking for myself and others, everybody usually is confused to some degree at some stage of their life, what to do, what not to do, where to go, how do I be happy, whatever. So we go to persons who are more experienced and we say, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think about this? Does this sound right? Am I overreacting? Am I underreacting? Should I change my job? Should I move to the Himalayas? Right? I don't know, I'm just joking. But you have to discuss with people. And I always like to do that because I like to get other people's point of view. So it's not just all resting on me. Like, whenever I have some doubts or confusion, there's a few people in my life I could go to and say, what do you think about this? And they'll tell me. And based on what they all tell me, I'll try to formulate some ideas and move forward. So this idea, like on my desk, I have a plaque there. And it's a joke, but it says, judge, jury, and executioner. So you know how like people have a plaque on their desk that says their name or something, or Mr. Boss, or I don't know, whatever, CEO, this, that. You know, they have names. So judge, jury, executioner. So that's on my desk. So I'm the judge, I'm the jury, I'm the executioner. Means that I'm the judge means I decide what's right and wrong, right, with others, with situations. And I'm the jury, which means there's a group of people who help the judge and help the lawyers, you know, come up with a decision of what should be done with people and situations. So I'm the jury also. And I'm the executioner. I'm the one who, so one who. So it's a joke. I really don't think like that, but it's a joke in the sense that you're not supposed to think like that. It means that you can't just say, I'm the judge, I'm the jury, I'm the executioner, and whatever I think is absolutely correct. And I know, people's hearts, and I know their motives, for example. In other words, we can't assume, that we know so many things, right? So what I'm saying is that we have to check with others. That's why there's a judge, is one personality, right? And that's why there's a jury. There's people who help the lawyer and the judge come up with a conclusion. And that's why there's execution. That's why people who enforce, punishment, because it can't all just be one person. There has to be many, things have to be seen from many angles of vision to come to a proper conclusion that's beneficial for yourself and others and the world. You can't just. That's why intelligent people, they like to discuss with other intelligent people things. Why? Because even though they may be intelligent, you need the other opinions of others to see if what you're doing is actually beneficial, what you're doing is right, if what you're doing is moral, what you're doing is good. That's why they have groups of people. That's why they have boards, right? There's a temple board here. Why? Because so everybody could discuss and come to a conclusion, because people bring out different things. So we can't just depend wholly on ourselves. And no one does that. I mean, anybody who's even materially successful, they don't do that. Just like we were saying, the senior doctor, junior doctor, they don't just rely on themselves. There's a whole educational system, there's a whole apprenticeship, there's a whole, there's rules, you could say, that govern the universe. And that's one of them, that if you want to be happy, if you want to be successful, then you have to meet with others and discuss things and try to, come to good conclusions. So, does that make sense? All right. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? No? What's for breakfast? I'm not sure. But we will find out now, or in a few minutes. So. Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.